I still remember the echo of flight announcements. It's strange how airports smell the same no matter how many years pass. Coffee, perfume, jet fuel, and memories you'd rather forget. My name is Olivia Parker, and today I'm back at JFK International, not as a lost teenager clutching a worn-out backpack, but as the co-founder of a luxury travel company worth millions. Irony has a cruel sense of humor. The glass walls around me reflect a woman people think has it all together: tailored cream suit, silk scarf, soft curls pinned just right. But if you looked close enough, maybe you'd still see her, that 16-year-old girl who was left standing at gate 42 while her father boarded a plane to Paris with his new wife. My phone buzzes on the counter. Dad. Liv, we need to talk. It's important. My stomach twists, not from anger, but from the kind of ache that lingers even after you swear you've healed. I close my eyes for a second, taking in the muffled sound of luggage wheels rolling by. The universe has a wicked way of timing things, because today, of all days, my company just announced a partnership with the same airline he once left me stranded for. I take a deep breath, my fingers brushing against the smooth gold bracelet on my wrist, the only thing I had left from my mom. Maybe it's time to answer that message. Maybe it's time he remembers what he left behind. I was 16 when my world folded in on itself, right there between gate 42 and a vending machine that kept eating my dollar. It's just for a week, Liv, Dad had said, adjusting the collar of his linen shirt. His smile looked forced, almost nervous. Beside him, Marissa, his new wife, was busy checking her reflection in the glass wall, her diamond bracelet flashing every time she moved. You'll stay with Aunt June till we're back. We just need this honeymoon, he said, his voice cracking on the last word. I remember gripping my boarding pass so tightly it left a crease across my palm. You promised we'd go to California this summer, I whispered. My throat burned. You said it would be just us. Marissa gave a soft, exaggerated sigh. Olivia, you're old enough to understand that adults need time for themselves. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. She slipped her arm through his, nails perfectly manicured, the same color as the cherry gloss on her lips. He didn't look at me when he said it. We'll talk when I get back. Then he walked away. Just walked. The sound of his shoes faded under the flight announcements, replaced by the echo of my heartbeat in my ears. I stood there for minutes, or maybe hours, frozen, staring at the reflection of a girl who didn't know whether to cry or scream. My suitcase handle was cold in my hand. I remember the hum of the air conditioning, the smell of someone's cinnamon latte drifting by. It all felt unreal. A woman sitting nearby must have noticed. She came over and handed me a napkin, her eyes kind. Sweetheart, you okay? I nodded, though the truth sat heavy in my chest. I'd been left behind, not just at an airport, but in life. That night, I took a bus home. The driver didn't ask questions when I paid with crumpled bills. I watched the city lights blur through the window, my reflection pale against the glass. At home, I found one thing waiting, a velvet jewelry box from my late mom. Inside was a simple gold bracelet, the one she used to wear every day, with a note tucked beneath it. For when you feel alone, you're stronger than you know. I fastened it around my wrist and swore I'd never need anyone again. Not Dad. Not Marissa. No one. That night, Olivia Parker stopped being a child. The years that followed were not kind, but they were honest. At 17, I was waiting tables at a tiny diner off Route 19. Grease stains on my apron, blisters on my palms, and the faint smell of coffee permanently in my hair. I used to stare out the fogged window during slow hours, watching planes slice through the sky and wondering if one of them carried my father. I didn't hate him, not at first. I just wanted him to see me, to call, to care. But the silence stretched into years, and that want turned into something sharper, a kind of motivation no one teaches you in school. After my shifts, I'd sit at the counter with my textbooks, scribbling through business notes until the lights dimmed. That's where Maggie Reynolds, the diner owner, found me one night. You remind me of myself, she said, wiping down the counter. Hard work's one thing, sweetheart. But you've got fire. Don't waste it here forever. Maggie became my first mentor. She taught me more than any class could: how to talk to people, how to negotiate, how to see opportunity in small things. She let me handle vendor calls, manage orders, even design flyers. And slowly, confidence replaced fear. By 19, I had enough saved to move to Boston, where I enrolled in a community college business program. It wasn't glamorous. I shared a shoebox apartment with 2 other girls, worked part-time at a travel agency, and lived mostly on instant noodles. But every night before bed, I'd twist my mother's bracelet around my wrist and whisper, "You're stronger than you know." And I was. I learned the language of persistence, late nights, rejection emails, and the quiet ache of being underestimated. The travel agency became my classroom. I watched how people planned vacations they couldn't afford, chasing happiness through luxury. It made me think, what if travel wasn't about money, but experience? That thought became the seed of something bigger. By 22, with Maggie's encouragement and a borrowed laptop, I launched my own small travel service for my apartment, Wanderwell. I specialized in affordable luxury experiences, helping people see the world beautifully without breaking their wallets. The first few months were brutal. Clients ghosted. Ads flopped. I almost gave up. But one day, I got an email from a retired teacher named Mrs. Callahan, who booked a solo trip to Italy through my site. When she came back, she wrote, "Thank you for reminding me I'm not too old to start living again." That message lit something inside me. One client became 10. 10 became 100. Then partnerships followed: boutique hotels, influencers, travel brands. Within 3 years, Wanderwell was generating more money than I ever thought possible. And through it all, I kept quiet. No bragging, no updates about success. My father still followed me on social media, liking random photos without knowing the story behind them. Let him think I was still that scared, stranded girl. Because one day, I planned to show him exactly who I'd become. It happened on a Thursday, the kind of day that feels too ordinary to change your life. I was reviewing contracts in my office when Amanda, my assistant, buzzed in. "Olivia, there's a couple here asking for you. They said they're family." My pen froze mid-signature. Family. I hadn't heard that word in connection with my father in almost a decade. "Send them in," I said, my voice calm, steadier than my pulse. The glass door slid open, and there they were. Dad and Marissa, older but unmistakable. He had more gray in his hair now, the tan lines of someone who'd lived well. She still wore her wealth-like armor, designer bag, gold watch, heels too tall for humility. "Olivia," Dad said softly, like the word itself was fragile. "You look amazing." "I should," I said, closing the folder on my desk. "I built a company that flies people around the world. Seems fitting, doesn't it?" Marissa's eyes darted around the office. The soft lighting, modern art, panoramic skyline view. "This place is beautiful," she said. "You must work for someone really important." I smiled, just enough for it to sting. "I am someone really important." Silence. You could almost hear it click in their heads. Dad blinked. "Wait, you own this?" "Co-own," I corrected. "But yes, I started Wanderwell, the same agency your honeymoon photos were featured in last year." Small world. His mouth opened, then closed. Guilt flickered behind his eyes, quickly masked by pride. "Olivia, that's unbelievable. We had no idea. I mean, we're so proud of you." Proud. That word landed like glass breaking in my chest. "Proud," I repeated quietly. "You left me at an airport, Dad. 16 years old. No money, no plan, just a lie about a flight that didn't exist. And now you're proud." Marissa stepped in, her tone syrupy. "Olivia, we made mistakes. We were young, overwhelmed." I laughed, but it wasn't bitter, it was calm. Controlled. "You weren't overwhelmed, Marissa. You were selfish. You wanted him to start a new life, and I didn't fit into it." She went pale. Dad looked down, the weight of my words pressing into the silence. "You don't understand," he finally said. "After your mom died, I didn't know how to be a father. Marissa helped me feel alive again." "At my expense," I said. He flinched. I thought Aunt June would. Aunt June moved to Florida that year. You didn't even check. The air felt heavy. The skyline behind me shimmered through the glass, the city glowing gold in the late afternoon light. I let the moment stretch, then leaned back in my chair. So, I said finally, what brings you here? Surely not guilt. Marissa hesitated. We're going through a rough patch financially. My husband, our investments, they didn't pan out. We were hoping you might consider helping. Maybe as a family. Family. The word again. I tilted my head, studying them. You came here to ask for money? Support, Dad corrected quickly. Just until we get back on our feet. I stood, smoothing my silk blouse, my voice steady but soft. You left me with nothing, and I turned it into everything. You want me to forget that? He looked up, eyes wet. Olivia, I'm sorry. For a moment, I almost believed him. But sorry didn't erase 16 years. Sorry didn't undo that gate, that silence. I walked around my desk and placed my hand on the cold glass table between us. You'll get your answer, I said. But not today. My gaze shifted to the bracelet on my wrist, the same one I wore the day he left me. Come back tomorrow, I added, meeting his eyes. And this time, don't be late. Because tomorrow, the story wouldn't be about the girl who was left behind. It would be about the woman who made them face what they'd done. They came back the next morning, exactly at 10. For once, they were on time. I had already prepared everything, coffee, water, and 2 contracts laid neatly on the conference table. My assistant closed the door behind them, leaving just the 3 of us. Marissa's perfume hit the air first, expensive, desperate. Dad looked tired, like he hadn't slept. You said we'd talk today, he began carefully. We're here to listen. Good, I said, motioning for them to sit. Because I have terms. I slid the first folder toward them. This one's for you, Dad. I'll help you financially, but only under one condition. You'll pay it forward. Volunteer at the Youth Mentorship Program Wanderwell sponsors in Queens. You'll work directly with kids who've been abandoned or neglected. His eyes widened. You want me to? Yes, I said. To see what it feels like to look into a child's eyes and promise you won't leave. He nodded slowly, guilt coloring his face. If that's what it takes, I'll do it. Then I turned to Marissa. Your situation's different. Her lips tightened. Different how? You married into comfort, not compassion. You built your happiness on someone else's emptiness, mine. She shifted uncomfortably. I continued, voice calm but firm. I'm willing to invest in the wellness brand you're trying to start. But there's a clause. You'll partner with single mothers rebuilding their lives. You'll provide free mentorship and donate 20% of your first-year profits to women's shelters. Marissa blinked. That's quite a demand. No, I said softly. It's a lesson. The silence in the room was thick. For years, I had replayed our last conversation in my mind, imagining myself screaming, crying, breaking down. But now I didn't need to raise my voice. My calm was the power. Dad looked up at me, voice trembling. You've changed, Liv. No, I said. I just stopped shrinking. I leaned back slightly, letting the moment breathe. I don't hate either of you. Hate is still a kind of connection, and I let that go years ago. But if I help you, it's not out of forgiveness. It's to make sure the pain you caused creates something good. Dad rubbed his temples. I deserve that, he whispered. Marissa, to my surprise, nodded. Maybe we both do. I gave a small smile, the kind you offer when the storm finally passes. Then we're in agreement. I signed the contracts, slid them across the table, and stood. There's one more condition, I added. They looked up, waiting. You never lie to me again. Not even to protect your pride. My father's voice cracked. I won't. Not this time. For a long second, none of us spoke. Then I extended my hand, not as a daughter seeking love, but as a woman offering peace. He took it slowly, his grip trembling. Marissa followed. Thank you, he whispered. I met his eyes and said quietly, Don't thank me. Just keep your word. Because this wasn't revenge. It was reclamation. And for the first time since that airport gate, I felt free. Months passed. Seasons shifted. And slowly, the echoes of that old pain softened into something else: acceptance. My father kept his word. Every Saturday, he volunteered at the mentorship program in Queens. I get occasional photos, him kneeling beside kids, teaching them how to fill out college forms, fixing their bikes, listening. The lines on his face had deepened, but so had something in his eyes: humility. Marissa, surprisingly, turned her brand into a small success. But this time, her name wasn't the only one on the label. There were stories, single moms she'd helped hire, their smiling faces on her website. She sent me a note once. "You were right. It feels better to build something for others." I never replied. I didn't need to. The peace I wanted didn't come from their apologies. It came from watching the world shift a little because of what I survived. One afternoon, I found myself back at JFK Airport. Not for business, not for a meeting, just closure. I stood near Gate 42, where that 16-year-old girl once waited for a father who never came back. The same hum of engines, the same rolling of luggage wheels, the same smell of jet fuel. But this time, the girl wasn't scared. She was me. I took off my bracelet, my mother's bracelet, and held it in my palm. The gold was warm from my skin, light catching on the engraving I'd never noticed before. Faint, almost invisible, were the words: "Fly free." I smiled, tears blurring the lights beyond the glass. Maybe Mom knew this moment would come. Maybe she knew her daughter would have to fall, to rise higher. I slipped the bracelet back on and whispered, "I did, Mom. I really did." As I turned to leave, my phone buzzed, a new message from my father. "Dad, proud of you, Liv. Truly. Thank you for giving me another chance." I looked at it for a long time before typing back. Just keep being the man I needed back then. Then I walked toward my gate, not away from something, but toward everything I'd built. The intercom crackled, calling passengers to board. I exhaled, feeling the quiet power of the moment wash over me. He left me at the airport when I was 16, but I learned how to fly without him. And this time I didn't look back.